I used to be addicted to playing League of Legends. I played nearly every single day, and then one day, I just stopped. The game had gotten stale, Riot was making the wrong decisions, and nothing about League of Legends had incentivized me to return. Riot recently introduced some new games involving the League IP that made me start to realize,
I think I miss
League of Legends.
The weirdest part is that those games convinced me to come back, but not for the reasons Riot was hoping for. Were you there for the early days of League? I didn't start until around Season 2 when Jace was released. League was one of the top multiplayer video games in the world. It was one of the first video games I'd ever played as soon as I got my first gaming PC. I was watching fan content on YouTube about League before I even had a League of Legends account. And oh my god, the content people would make about League back then was insane.
I can solo mid with no teleport,
At least for its time. I leveled up my League account to max level back then, only playing co-op versus AI games with my friends because the core gameplay was fun to me. The reason why they were co-op versus AI games was to shield me from the toxic community of League of Legends. Even if it was my first time ever playing a modern PC game, let alone a MOBA, I was able to push through the immensely difficult learning curve and start improving at the game so I can interact with these cool characters that I had loved. Speaking of the characters, back then every champ had their own little lore page in the client with information about them and why they joined the League of Legends. This was when the lore still had the players as summoners who would summon the champs to fight. Rammus's lore back then was maybe something like 3 sentences, but it was peak. Maybe I'm just looking through rose-tinted glasses, but League was something else back then. Eventually though, years later, I stopped playing League as much. I don't think there was anything that caused it, there was no straw that broke the camel's back, it just got stale. I would of course come back every now and then for new champ releases and to check into the League of Legends retirement home, but League stopped being the go-to game to play for me. Around 2020 I was almost done playing League entirely. Years passed and Riot never really introduced anything to League of Legends that enticed me to come back. In fact, there are probably more reasons that made me not want to return to League. Riot had removed the game of League from their lore entirely, no more summoners, Institute of War, or any of that. They introduced a huge lore rework which actually seemed to be super promising, but it ended up having champions no longer having a place in the lore, tons of retcons, stories not really going anywhere. Objectively, the new lore updates were way more in-depth than what we had in the beginning, but in my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with a simple backstory for each character, some sort of reason for the game itself to exist. Riot also decided to add gacha mechanics for skins costing up to $500, battle passes, and nerfed drops for hex tech chests and other tactics for some extra revenue. It seemed like League just kept coming out with more ways to get some extra money, which is fine, as it's a free-to-play game, but it felt like the game itself wasn't being prioritized anymore, and I was hearing more about Riot's mistakes rather than what was new with the game itself. In the end of 2019, Riot had announced Project L, now known as 2XKO, at the same time when Valorant, known as Project A at the time, was announced. It was so young in development that we never heard any big news about it for years, and it was just in development purgatory for a long time. Valorant has already gone through years of content and is still holding up well. It's a signature game in Riot's release list. At the time these games were announced, I was already 99% done with League of Legends. I barely came back to even play ARAM. I was waiting so long to be able to play Project L. I assumed when it would come out that it would be the Riot game I was waiting for. After even more years of Project L staying dark, I drifted away from League and Riot altogether. League of Legends never really crossed my mind anymore. Cut to today, nearing the end of 2025, and we've finally been able to play 2XKO. The game is actually pretty fun. It felt so nice to play another game where I can be League of Legends characters and recognize the moves from the game or places that you read about in the lore. It feels so satisfying to see these characters in a new perspective. Seeing Blitz command grab people or Braum sliding across the screen on his shield over someone is just so sick. I'm by no means the ultimate defender of 2XKO. The game definitely has some things to work on, which can be a whole video in itself. The honeymoon phase is over by now, and a lot of the balance and game identity issues are starting to show. But at its core, it's a fun fighting game, and the price of being free to play makes it so easy to give it a try. While in the middle of still grinding and playing 2xKO during early access, another Riot Games release was also making its way to the US.
You never saw this coming! I summoned Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck!
That's not what it does! It doesn't do that. That is what it does!
Riftbound, Riot's first attempt at a card game. Wait, it's not the first? Anyways, Riftbound had come to America on Halloween 2025. It's a physical card game similar to something like Magic the Gathering where you build a deck and battle against other players. I was aware of Riftbound before its release date, and it was something I was really excited to try out. It was my first time trying to learn and play a trading card game besides just opening up Pokemon packs to see the shiny cards.
Be happy if you give me the Rainbow Charizard.
Right.
A few moments later.
What the flip? Rainbow Charizard!
What? What? Oh, buddy!
Oh my god!
I went to local Riftbound events near me, met new faces, and tried out a brand new hobby. Seeing these Riftbound cards with some iconic champions on them and some cool new art, with quotes at the bottom of the card that I can hear in my head perfectly, the card backs that don't even say Riftbound anywhere but instead say League of Legends, in all caps. Playing Riftbound IRL while playing 2xKO back at the computer, it felt like I was back into the realm of League of Legends again, except I wasn't playing the game itself. These games were fun, but they just weren't hitting like I thought they would in my head. 2xKO is not my favorite fighting game as much as I wanted it to be. It still can use some adjustments. Riftbound is a fun card game, but since it was my first one to play, it made me realize that maybe physical card games are not something I can see myself going all in on. The cost to stay competitive, dealing with the current low inventory issues, Scalper City, it's all just huge turnoffs from the genre. It felt like I wasn't scratching the League itch that I still had. So yeah, I eventually caved in and updated League of Legends and started playing again. Of course I went straight to ARAM, but they currently have a temporary mode where you can get augments that affect your character similar to a roguelike, and this alone has made ARAM so much more fun and interesting, not knowing what kind of combinations you can make for each game. Yeah. Oh my god, it's so sick. A part of me still wants to go back to Summoner's Rift and play some normals, but the ARAM Mayhem mode has been so much fun that it leaves me satisfied for now. And the last thing I want to do is burn out quickly from the main game mode. After playing League again for a few weeks, Riot dropped yet another huge change to League: WASD movement controls. So instead of right-clicking on your movement, you can use WASD keys on the keyboard to move your character. I feel like this hasn't made a huge difference to the people I talk to, but to me this is a whole new experience to League of Legends. I immediately changed my settings and started to play with the new controls, and got stomped and flashed on accident whenever I wanted to throw a Q. Learning the new controls is a very slow process because I'm having to rewire my decade-plus muscle memory of how to control and combo with my favorite champs. But the learning process is part of the fun, and it feels humbling to feel like a noob again. Without official player charts or data from Riot themselves, we can't really say for sure if League of Legends has been declining in player base. I think it has definitely stagnated, if not declined in American players, but it's hard to say for sure. Perhaps this whole video is just me reflecting on how I feel about the League of Legends franchise as a whole, but I think at least in my own experience, it's having a resurgence in my world. I thought I was done with League forever, but the new game releases made me crave those characters and world again. It wasn't even because the games were amazing, but because the lack of polish and feeling unsatisfied made me think of all the fun I used to have playing League of Legends years ago. I hope that the releases of these new games using League's characters with mechanics inspired by League of Legends itself will inspire more people to come back and give League another try, and perhaps even bring in new players who have never touched League of Legends before. However, the new player experience in League is almost notoriously frustrating and difficult to get through. I remember when Arcane came out and it was a huge success. I only watched the first few episodes and never really finished it, so I won't talk about the show itself. But when it came out in 2021, there was a huge influx of new players who had decided to give League a try. A lot of the new players who tried League after Arcane had immediately dropped off due to the difficulty of even playing and understanding the game. Enjoying Arcane and yet refusing to touch League of Legends was super common. I hope that League can escape the box it's in, where it's seen as just a game infested with toxic players, or Arcane the video game. Sure, it has its toxicity, but so do many other games, and arguably, in my experience, some games now feel like they have way more toxic players. And while writing the script for this video, there was actually an announcement made by Riot Games about the future of League of Legends in 2027. So nothing crazy in 2026, but in 2027, they plan to release a new overhauled version of League of Legends. Not officially a League of Legends 2, but the next evolution of League they are dubbing League Next. They mentioned things like a new client built into the game, a new Summoner's Rift being built from the ground up, new gameplay changes, and a complete overhaul of the onboarding experience for new players. Fixing that onboarding experience will make a huge difference. We can only hope that Riot will do it well. The future for League of Legends seems to be promising. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and just maybe I'll continue playing it all the way until then. What do you guys think? Have you had a similar experience to mine? Have you continued playing it all this time? Do you think League has a good future ahead of it? I'd like to get other opinions from people outside my small circle. So to wrap things up, thank you so much if you made it all the way through this video. I'm still new to making these types of videos, so bear with me as I try to find a good rhythm for it. I hope I can come out with more videos about my experience or current events of video games on a monthly basis, so please look forward to more videos in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like to assist me in the YouTube algorithm, and possibly consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos from me in the future. See ya.